Back in the bathroom again. I just finished watching a documentary, a punk documentary. I'll put it up on the screen there. Of course, the Damned is featured in this, but it's all the same, like sort of backhanded compliments, you know. They were the jokesters. They were the the shorthand takeaway is don't take them seriously, which is, of course it gets me upset because they were like the only band really following through on what the idea of punk rock was, and it mentioned first the Sex Pistols and the Clash, and how they were a two-pronged attack on the establishment and all this stuff. And they catch Mick Jones in a telling moment where he's talking about his ambition for playing in bands, and he was like, I just wanted to make some music. We didn't have any kind of agenda or anything like that. And he was like, in the interview, he was like, the Clash didn't have an agenda? And he was like, well, I didn't have an agenda. I shouldn't speak for the others. They didn't have an agenda. Their agenda was given to them by their manager, Bernie Rhodes. If you think Joe Strummer knew the first thing about Nicaragua, then you're fucking high and you're mistaken. The thing with punk and that whole movement is it was a whole operation by intelligence agencies, whereas the American Laurel Canyon hippie flower power movement came courtesy of the American CIA. This was a MI6 with Mossad job. It was like it was their turn or something. The Damned were in a pool of players who were being kind of cultivated along with the members of the Sex Pistols and the Clash. The guys at one point could have been interchangeable, almost to the point where any of those, a combination of any of the guys in those bands plus other people could have ended up in any, like Sid Vicious was almost a singer for the Damned. If he had shown up that day. He didn't, Dave did, and there you go. But the Damned were cut loose from this intelligence agency kind of grooming. Malcolm McLaurin and Bernie Rhodes worked with these intelligence agencies with the express idea to help steer culture in a certain way, the same way the American CIA had done with the Laurel Canyon thing. And it created, in the Laurel Canyon situation, they created the hippies and that whole movement, and they also took over the opposition to the hippies. A similar thing was kind of done in the UK. Just sticking to the bands, though. The Clash and the Sex Pistols were retained, under the direction of these guys, and the Damned were kind of cut loose. For various reasons, maybe they felt like they didn't need them. They already had two bands. They used the inciting incident of the Anarchy tour being where the Damned got cut loose from being part of the punk intelligentsia or the core movement, which was led by the Clash and the Sex Pistols. They weren't getting the same treatment at some point. And whereas the Damned went with Stiff Records, who is a label that was designed to handle these this new emerging music, whatever the origins of that situation was, I'm not really sure. But they certainly didn't have the reach of the largest record company in the world at that time, which is who the Sex Pistols signed with, and made a very professional sounding product with the Anarchy in the UK, and then later the Nevermind the Bollocks. Now, Nevermind the Bollocks is a great album, great songs. Not sure who plays on it. I did a video about the guy that most likely, was it Chris Spedding? I think he's the guy that most likely played the guitar on that. Because even in this documentary, you see the Sex Pistols playing live, and you listen to Steve Jones' sound. That's not the same guy who's playing on the album. But for the official kind of punk operation, they had to have music that sounded good in a production standpoint that could be played on mainstream radio, because this was, the point was to get into the mainstream with this. And Captain Sensible of the Damned has long joked that if you took Johnny Rotten's vocals off the Sex Pistols album, it could be fucking Bad Company. He's not wrong, I still think Nevermind the Bollocks is a brilliant album. It's one of the best albums ever made. I mean, it did its job regardless of who plays on it, who concocted it, where these songs come from. And I love John Lydon. I love that guy. But I don't believe him that it was this totally organic thing that he makes it sound like. He even denies the charges that the band was put together in some way. He makes Malcolm seem like just some try-hard wannabe who wanted to be in the scene. But this was all orchestrated by very powerful people in an attempt to nudge society in a certain way. Media back then, all you had was TV, radio, and magazines. It wasn't that hard to move the people in the direction you wanted them to move. And these intelligence agencies also use magic. I mean, that's what it is. As schizo as that may sound to the uninitiated, that's exactly what it is. And when you hear guys talking about seeing Sex Pistols for the first time, a guy from Eddie and the Hot Rods is saying, I walked into the gig and I put my hand up and I said to my friend, I'm like, do you feel that? Do you feel that? There's something different. You can feel it. That's magic. That's the spell that was being worked up with the Sex Pistols. And everyone mentioning seeing them for the first time says the same thing. You felt something. Something was coming. You felt it. You felt it. Yeah, you did feel it. You felt the electricity, the energy. And it wasn't, the energy of four scrappy young lads from the streets of London. This is serious stuff put together by serious people. And it's mind control. It's human behavioral control. There's some MK Ultra type stuff in there as well. MK Ultra is just like an umbrella term. There was a lot of projects underneath MK Ultra. MK Ultra is just like a catch-all term, really, because it's had so many sub operations going on with that. But and these people use magic, and the Sex Pistols and the Clash got the magic treatment, and the Damned did not. They were cut out of that kind of early. And if you look at their career, you see that they just kept falling down the stairs. Regardless of how good the music was, they just couldn't catch a break. Whereas the Sex Pistols just went from one huge record company to another huge record company. And the Clash, 5 years later, they're playing baseball stadiums in America. That's the power of being part of a psychological operation. It's hard sometimes to watch stuff like this, because I don't know everything. I can't I have no proof here. All I have is a long time studying this stuff, and the knowledge I pick up here and there that enables me to look at a situation like this, and I see everything. I see why things work the way they did. I see why when guys say, oh, you just felt like it was just, I looked, Sex Pistols were opening up for us, and, I'm backstage, I'm like, oh, it's all over for us. It's a new thing coming through. The music sounded like dog shit. What were you feeling then? You feel magic. You feel magic. Done in a professional manner. It was an operation. The whole UK punk thing was an operation, and I still enjoy the music, but the Damned didn't have a Bernie Rhodes or Malcolm McLaurin giving them talking points, or in the case of the Clash, lyrical ideas, basically. How do these poor guys, know about all this stuff going on around the world? It seems like you'd have to be a G-man to know some of that stuff. These are British punks. Where were they getting their newspapers from? Were they like voracious news watchers? Like, how the fuck? How does Joe Strummer know about what's going on in Nicaragua? That's all. That sums the whole thing up. But yeah, so I'm enjoying watching it, but at the same time, I'm just like, these motherfuckers. It always leads back to the thing, like, of how, with a spiritual lens, and just a little bit of knowledge about stuff, it's hard to enjoy sometimes some of the things I used to enjoy. And you just see how the people fell in, all the youth fell in. The older guard knew that there was something on the scene they just weren't going to be able to challenge. How does that happen? Because the band was really good. They weren't even good. They weren't even good musically. You hear Don Lutz saying, I couldn't even hear what Johnny was saying, but I just knew it was something there about his energy. But yeah, it's magic. It's fucking magic, and it spreads like that. How do you take over a nation like that? How does an idea like that grow the way it did and capture, a nation? Well, things were really bad, and this was the youth crying out. Come on. I mean, if that's what you want to go with, it, it's fine. I'm not here to convince anybody. I'm just telling you what I see when I look at it. But, yeah. Now I gotta go try to unwind and sleep. Time to land the plane. Get some of that end time sleep, which is usually 2.5 hours. Wake up, get another 2.5 hours. Rinse and repeat. Don't blame the teacher, blame the school.